Welcome to English Learning Podcast. My name is Fatima.
I am Najib.
Today we're discussing on guilty pleasure TV shows. I was thinking about something kind of embarrassing earlier.
Oh yeah? What's that?
Well, it's about TV shows. You ever have one of those shows that you watch but you don't really tell anyone about because it's, embarrassing?
Oh, guilty pleasures? Definitely. Everybody has at least one. It's like the secret shame that you low-key love. What's yours?
Laughs? Oh, I'll tell you, but you have to go first. No judgment here.
Fine. You'll probably laugh, but I used to watch Jersey Shore back in the day, like religiously.
Jersey Shore? No way. I can't picture you fist-pumping with Snooki in the situation. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I know. It's so trashy, but there was just something about it. The drama, the ridiculous fights, the absurd personalities. It's like every episode was a train wreck that I couldn't look away from. What about you?
Okay, I'll admit, I've watched some Jersey Shore too, but that's not mine. I'm more into reality competitions, specifically The Bachelor.
Oh wow, The Bachelor, huh? That's a pretty classic guilty pleasure. But honestly, I can see why. All that over-the-top romance, the tension, the drama, it's like a soap opera, but with real people.
Exactly. I know it's so staged and ridiculous, like no one finds true love after a few weeks in a mansion full of people competing for one person's attention, right? But still, I get so sucked in. I need to know who gets the final rose, and I get way too invested in the contestants' lives.
Do you have a favorite season or contestant?
Laughs. Oh, I'm deep into Bachelor Nation, so yeah, I have favorites. I think JoJo Fletcher's season was probably one of the best, but Ben Higgins, oh my god, Ben was such a sweetheart. And then there's all the spin-offs like Bachelor in Paradise. It's such a guilty pleasure rabbit hole.
It sounds like it. It's funny how these shows hook you in, right? You start watching ironically, like, haha, this is so dumb, but then a few episodes in, you're invested. You need to know how it ends.
Oh, 100%. You start off making fun of it, and then suddenly you're crying when someone doesn't get a rose. It's so bad, but also kind of great. I think part of the appeal is that it's such a break from reality. Like, my life is stressful sometimes, and I just want to watch something mindless that I don't have to think too hard about.
Yeah, totally. It's like mental junk food. It's not really good for you, but sometimes it's exactly what you need.
Exactly. And speaking of mental junk food, do you ever watch cooking competition shows? Because I'm obsessed with them too.
Oh man, cooking shows? Are we talking MasterChef or like the Great British Bake Off?
Oh, I love both of those. The Great British Bake Off is so soothing. It's just nice people baking cakes in a tent, and everyone's so supportive of each other.
Yeah, that's true. Bake Off is just so wholesome. But I think I'm more into the high-stakes ones like Hell's Kitchen or Chopped. I don't know why, but there's something about Gordon Ramsay screaming at people that just makes it more entertaining.
It's like the opposite of American reality shows, where people are always yelling at each other. Laughs. I get that. I do like Hell's Kitchen, but I feel so bad for the contestants sometimes. I'd probably cry if I was trying to cook under that much pressure and getting yelled at like that.
Same. But that's what makes it so wild. It's like, why would anyone voluntarily sign up for this? And yet, they do, season after season. I think part of the guilty pleasure is watching people willingly put themselves in these crazy situations.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, why are you doing this to yourself? But then you can't stop watching them suffer through it. Do you ever feel like after watching these shows, you start thinking you could be a chef?
Oh, definitely. I'll be sitting there watching Chopped, judging the contestants' choices like, why didn't you make a soufflé with that? Meanwhile, I can barely boil water. But it gives you this false sense of confidence, like, I could totally do this. Spoiler alert, I cannot.
Laughs. Same here. I watch MasterChef and I'm like, I could poach an egg in a red wine reduction. But then I remember that I burned toast the other day. It's all part of the fantasy, though. You get to live vicariously through them without actually having to do any of the hard work.
Exactly. That's why these shows are so addictive. You get all the excitement of the competition and drama, but none of the stress. It's like being a couch potato version of a culinary genius.
Yes, and the best part is, even if you miss an episode or a whole season, it's not like you're missing some deep, complex plot. You can jump in anywhere, and it's just as enjoyable.
That's so true. With guilty pleasure shows, it doesn't matter if you skip around. Like with Jersey Shore, every episode was basically the same. People partying, fighting, and then making up. There's something comforting in the predictability.
Totally. That's how I feel about the Real Housewives too. It's like, you know exactly what you're going to get. Fancy parties, women arguing over nothing, and a lot of dramatic looks. It's like candy for your brain.
I've never actually watched Real Housewives, but I know it's huge. Is it really as dramatic as people say?
Oh, it's even more dramatic than you'd expect. They'll have these massive blow-ups over the smallest things, like someone not inviting someone else to a luncheon. And the editing just makes it even more dramatic, with slow-motion replays and intense music. It's so over the top that you can't take it seriously, but that's what makes it so fun.
Sounds wild. I think I'd get hooked if I started watching, but I'm trying to limit my guilty pleasures. I feel like once you start with one, it's a slippery slope.
Oh, for sure. It's easy to go down the rabbit hole. One minute you're watching The Bachelor, and the next thing you know, you're deep into 90-Day Fiance marathons.
Oh man, 90 Day Fiance? That's another one I've heard people talk about. I've only seen clips, but it seems like a hot mess.
It is. It's all about people in long-distance relationships who have 90 days to get married after the foreign partner comes to the U.S. on a fiancé visa. There's so much drama because it's like these people barely know each other sometimes and they're rushing to get married. It's such a train wreck, but you can't stop watching.
That sounds like the ultimate guilty pleasure. High stakes, questionable decisions, and all the drama you could ever want.
Exactly. And the couples are always so mismatched. It's like, how did these two ever get together in the first place? But that's what makes it so addictive. You're just waiting for everything to fall apart.
It's like reality TV thrives on people making the worst possible choices. The more irrational the decision, the better the TV.
Oh, definitely. And then they throw in all these awkward situations like when the American family meets the foreign fiancé for the first time, and it's always so uncomfortable. The tension is real, and it's so hard to watch, but also impossible not to.
I get that. It's like secondhand embarrassment, but you just can't turn away.
Exactly. And don't even get me started on the spin-offs. There's Before the 90 Days, The Other Way, where the American moves to the foreign country, and even The Single Life, where former contestants try dating again after their relationships inevitably fall apart.
Wow, there's a whole universe of 90 Day Fiancé out there.
Oh yeah, it's a commitment. Once you get into it, it's hard to get out. You've got hours and hours of cringe-worthy content ahead of you.
Sounds dangerous. I might have to avoid that one, or I'll get sucked in for sure.
It's definitely